I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice.
Do your own research.
Consult a professional investment advisor before making any investment decisions.
This show is for entertainment only. Faites vos propres recherches.
Here we are
in another episode
of the Simple Success Podcast.
And
this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective.
coaching happiness. That's a powerful start there, DT. To what? To what you're about to tell me when I ask.
Which is,
how often do you go for a walk?
Huh? As often as I want to. Or when I have to work off a donut or two.
Do you, let's say, want to take steps on a daily basis?
No comment.
S'il vous plaît.
No comment.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. What if it was a goal of yours?
A goal of mine? To do what exactly?
To get out more, to be more active like other healthy adults.
OMG. You mean like exercise?
I do. Like walking or running, whatever.
Right, okay, John.
And think about how this would benefit your life.
Well, it would make me happier, obviously.
Good answer.
Yeah, okay, long term.
So, why don't you set a date with yourself for the next time you decide to take a walk?
Because I don't know where I live.
How do we solve that? Well, you could look at a map.
I could, yes, but that's not what we're talking about.
What do you think we're talking about?
Having step goals.
Specifically, I mean having any kind of goals and keeping the progress towards them going.
And so we should step into our goals?
I see what you did there.
Yes, DT, and I'll give you a perfect example.
But we have guests now. They give all the examples.
Of the topic and their expertise, yes. I'm giving an example of how I've used step goals.
Okay, on with it then.
All right, let's talk about those step goals.
Step goals?
Yes.
OMG. Again.
Now, I'm sure you've heard of these before.
I doubt it.
Either way, the idea is to set a goal and reach it, then up that goal and reach that.
And then?
And then do it again.
Who would do such a thing?
I did. I started with 5,000 steps a day in about 2015 or so.
Big deal.
Yeah, we can say that now, but it was a big deal at the time. Well, for me at least. And also for others who thought it was a lot.
It was a lot.
Only relatively. It was a lot compared to 4,000 steps per day.
That's right.
But it was not a lot compared to 10,000.
Really?
But it gets better.
How can it get better?
By getting simpler and easier. That's what we do here.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Good. I hope you like the sound of this next thing, too. I think you will.
What's that?
I tricked my brain.
You what?
He said that he tricked his brain.
Wait a minute. I thought this podcast was about financial success.
It is. Stay with me, us, whatever.
Doubting Thomas rarely says go on.
Thank you, despite your wariness. To be successful financially, physically, personally, or whatever, it is a smart thing to also maintain your health and your health benefits. And stacking that with goals makes for a powerful recipe.
And that connects to brain tricking how?
I made it relative, which made it easier for the brain to handle.
Details, trivia.
Okay. Ya que estás siendo educado. After the first year of 5,000 steps per day.
Yes, you are being polite.
Meanwhile,
Because we've heard this story before.
Let him tell it, please.
Thanks, DT. After the first year, I stepped it up to 6,000 a day, then 7,000. Just a few extra steps at a time.
Let me guess, then 8,000.
No, not exactly. Since I'd gotten myself used to increases, I went big and went straight to 10,000. But still, not exactly today's vigorous activity.
Au contraire, that's a lot.
Yes, but now 10,000 is almost an off day.
You do more?
Yep, I've peaked out at 12,000 per day.
12,000?
Yeah, that's my daily average. And there's a little bit more, which is a more detailed story that you might want to know later.
Okay, for now, why is 10,000
Or more.
such a big deal? I mean, are these optimal amounts or just broad ranges?
Good question, DT. It comes from the American Heart Association and their recommendation for a minimum for us all to follow for optimal cardiovascular health.
I wonder when I'll have time to think about such health risks.
How about right now? You can do it during
Break number 1.
Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcast player. You can find us on both the App Store and the Play Store because our message is for everyone. Leave a rating for us, or even better, tell a friend. Whichever you choose, thank you so much for helping us do this for you. To leave us a written message, which just might lead to more in a future podcast, go to those same written show notes to find our subreddits. There is also our Facebook group page, Twitter, and other ways which we'll tell you about from time to time. You can also find an Easter egg every so often, so listen closely. Thank you again, and keep those constructive ideas coming.
So, how far did you get?
How far did I get what? When?
During break number 1, how many steps did you get during that break?
Well, since I typically do about 100 steps per minute, I'll say 100.
That's simple.
And simple is part of the goal. In this case, a SMART goal.
I know, for our show.
Yes, but not just that. Simple is part of the goal for everything. Simple should reign king or queen among our daily activities.
True, hard tasks can become simple once you know what to do.
Right, and knowing what to do often comes from experience.
And experience is a form of repetition, right?
Yes, it is, but it's more than that, too.
It is? Do tell, kind sir.
Well, I could do that, or we could just banter some more about this idea, or...
Better yet?
Yes, much better. Let's bring in an expert on transformational leadership.
Okay, can we ask about that expert's flaming sword?
We can. And of course, we've got to get started. So let's welcome Mr. Kevin Keppel.
Hello, Kevin. Glad to have you here with us today.
Hello, Kevin.
Hey, what's going on, John? How are you, man?
You are here to tell us a bit about your experience, but about what you would do when you're coaching people in transformational leadership and what message that is so important to get out to people.
I think one of the first places to start is probably similar to investing, right? You've got to get started to get started. And I think a lot of people wait for permission to lead. And that's one of the big mistakes that I made when I was a younger leader. And I see a lot of people who maybe aren't in a quote unquote leadership position, they'll well, when I become a leader, then I'll learn how to lead. And, somebody's always watching you, regardless if you lead a team of 1,000 or if it's, you all alone. You're still a leader. Somebody's watching you and how you show up and what they should do to make the most positive, productive impact in the world.
Okay. How is teamwork involved in that?
Sure. Well, without teamwork, you're going to be a one-man band or a one-woman band, whatever the case may be. And if you're not able to inspire and empower other people, you're going to end up doing everything yourself. And nobody is good at everything. And one of the most important things to understand is how to satisfy that influence equation. And we're all looking to influence the behavior of others in some way. And John Maxwell, the godfather of leadership, he said leadership is influence. And I think one of the places people get tripped up with the influence equation, if you will, is kind of working backwards. So to me, the influence equation is trust, connection, and then vision. And I see, a lot of leaders try to start with vision. They're like, hey, here's where we're going, let's go get it. And even if it's, just somebody you're collaborating with, if they're not, if you don't intentionally build trust first, that doesn't make people feel safe. And if people don't feel safe, they're not going to be vulnerable and they're not going to co-create with you. They may do what you ask while you're around, but there's not going to be, this co-elevation and co-creation that, we're really looking for if you truly want to, move towards higher levels of performance in any area.
Okay. Now I'm thinking about the average person, which I hope to appeal to from a listener perspective. I mean, of course, I want everybody to be successful, but if the average person is worried about even getting started, how would you transform this kind of average person into somebody who can really contribute to either their team or themselves or their family or all of the above?
Yeah, I think, the first step in being above average is treating yourself above average. And if you want to be above average, you've got to do things that most people aren't doing. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and solve pie necessarily, but you do need to do uncommon things if you want to create uncommon results. And not to drop like soundbite, but what I mean by that is really figuring out what does my unique version of genius look like when I bring that into the world. And people listening may like, I don't have genius, I'm not Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. And that's not what I mean. By genius, I mean what's your greatest expression of authentic strength looks like when you bring it into the world. And genius has so much more to do with habits than it does with actual talent. And so finding a way to identify, what are your patterns of behavior that give you that elite performance. And one of the tools that I love is Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment, formerly known as Strength Finders, because it shows you, hey, here's your natural talents, what you can do better than anybody else in the world. And also, maybe more importantly, here's what it looks like when you give all that power away.
And how do you connect people with that? As clearly you want to have an impact on your clients, but just generally speaking, that has to come from a philosophy that you would use for your own life. How do you connect people with this leadership vision?
Well, I think just getting really clear about, first and foremost, what do you want? And so many people have trouble answering that question, because like, what do you want is, what are you passionate about bringing into the world right now? And then, why? That's the purpose, right? How are you mixing generosity into this passion? And anytime you're looking to enroll other people in your ideas, you've got to show them how, them helping you create this purpose or this result helps them get whatever it is they want. By us working towards this, here's how it helps you as an individual. And the lack of purpose is the one common denominator in all people who lack serious motivation. They're not working towards anything. And they set them off from point A to go to point B. And like, no landmarks because they didn't know where they were at, no map, no compass. And every time, whether it was a desert, the woods, wherever, they walked in circles and they went back to the start, because that's what we do. With lack of clear direction, we just go back to what's familiar, even if it's not what we want. And especially, in the investing world that you live in, there's so many people who cling to this financial reality they don't even want, in spite of what they do want, just because they're not really clear. Like, okay, what do you want? Like, I want more. Like, more what? You want more Girl Scout cookies? You want more money? More free time? Like, what do you want?
Getting specific on people's goals is hugely important. So what's the best way to get more Kevin?
Sure. I mean, LinkedIn or Instagram, just my name, or you can check me out on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast, wherever you like to go to find podcast.
Okay. Unlock Your Freedom. So we'll put a link for that in the show notes.
Really simple piece of advice that I wish I would have learned when I was sooner. It's like, I think it's so important, whether you're looking at your finances, you're looking at your leadership, or your life in general. It's, for starters, I think you need to understand that, like, wherever you are, that's where you are. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is today. And like, stop getting ready to get ready. Just go. And you're going to make mistakes, but that's okay. But doing nothing brings you nothing. So if you want to progress, you have to take action. Super simple.
Yeah, just be kind to yourself and try again if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're doing the best you can, literally.
All right. I appreciate your time, Kevin.
Great guest, John. Now, how can I find him? Everyone these days likes doing a little research when they're interested in someone or something.
You're right about that. Kevin has a website and a podcast called Unlock Your Freedom. You can also find him on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And check the show notes for clickable links, of course.
Of course. Comme toujours.
As always, you mean.
That would be correct. Thanks, TT. Now, after listening to him, do you now get why I brought up the subject of a goal as simple as working out?
Yeah, I think so.
And more, do you get what physical activity patterns can have to do with success in investing?
Yes, I do.
And do you have a unique genius from that?
I do. A phrase Kevin used will stick with me. He said, "Don't wait for permission to lead."
Because you won't get it. You have to take it for yourself and do good with it.
Yeah, however, there are always things that are ours.
Yes, and we'll probably banter about that in more detail.
But first, break number 2.
We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. So as soon as you're done with that, tell us your story. We have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a message. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know if that happens. The reason for subscribing? I thought you'd never ask. When you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. It just happens in your player without you having to go search again. How cool is that? This means better rankings for the podcast, more attention from advertisers, and more money. And this means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, whatever app and from whatever place you like. And don't just try to subscribe. There is no try. There is only do. We're changing the way we look at things, and remember, that's good. Eso es buenísimo. Also remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. Our call to action is right in the show notes. find it, and you win too.
Before that second break, you were talking about transformational leadership.
Kevin was, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Kevin was.
Next thing you want to know how it ties together for investors, right? And of course, what the simple solution is?
I would? Yes, I would.
Oh, good. It wasn't just me hoping that I would.
It wasn't?
No, not hoping. It was me doing it.
Why?
Because I can, and so can you.
As I recall, Kevin told us a lot about transformational leadership.
He did, and his podcast, Unlock Your Freedom, is a great companion to that way of thinking.
The most important thing is that when we're able to get out of our own way and be willing to step outside of the box,
we are able to make things happen in ways that are far more powerful than if we stayed inside the box.
Yeah, you go. There is no box. Minutes of activity count within our brains, too.
Yes, they do. Good observation. Now, the way in which this tool applies to a STEPS goal is very simple. We've already talked about the importance of setting goals, but let's talk now about why they're so important.
Okay, you first.
Right. When we set goals, we tell ourselves something about who we are, what we value, and what we believe. And when we do that, we also tell other people about those things. And by doing that, we're helping them understand themselves better as well.
Oh, so when we set goals, we have an opportunity to change not only our own lives, but the lives of others around us.
Yes, isn't that cool? We have the ability to make a difference in a wide range of things.
But we need to take those actions first, right?
Right. So here's what we're going to do.
Say that by yourself.
Right. So here's what we're going to do.
Just to avoid confusion.
Right. Let's go back up to the top.
Where we talked about how often we walk?
Yeah, that's the place.
So what did we learn from that? Now that you're my personal trainer and all.
We learned that we should probably start walking every day.
Isn't that a bit of an understatement?
A little, although it's the same thing as needing to get started.
Whether that's with physical fitness or investing or anything else we believe important.
Right, because we're going to need to get some good habits into our lives before we can even think about trying to work towards our goals.
Exactly.
And if we don't get some good habits in there, then we'll find it to be much harder to move forward with our goals.
Right.
So now that we've got that figured out, let's look at how we can use this information to help us achieve our goals.
If you're looking to lose weight, or maybe increase your book royalties,
whatever constitutes financial peace of mind for you,
or whatever your goal might be, the best way to accomplish it
is to write down all of the steps that you need to take. You may need to call someone.
You may need to buy something. You may need to ask somebody for advice.
Whatever it is, write it down. Get a friend, whatever it takes.
Then, once you've written it down, you're going to have to decide whether or not you're actually going to follow your own advice and take action on it.
And that's because if you do nothing, you won't see results.
You'll just end up frustrated because you haven't taken any action.
Right. Make action your plan. Make action your strategy.
It doesn't matter whether you're losing 5 pounds or 50 pounds.
Nope. What matters is that you're doing it. You're taking action.
It's like the old saying goes, actions speak louder than words.
Whose old saying is that?
It was Shakespeare.
No, not even a nice try.
Okay, Abe Lincoln.
Yes, that works.
I'm sure he would approve of my use of his quote.
Absolutely.
And he was willing to let it take time.
He was patient.
And persistent.
This is true. He probably repeated things a lot once he found out which things worked best.
As we should.
Yes, but more, you mean as we do.
Which is how you've all gotten good.
Gracias por escuchar.
Salut. À la prochaine.
This podcast and our other podcast are productions of Little Red Hen Industries. The supporting cast who helps me bake the bread includes
Techno King, John C. Brandy, Alter Ego, Doubting Thomas, Fact Checker, A Small Brown Beef Animal, Seriously, Tiny. Facts are important but are also easy. Social Manager, Abraham Lincoln, Media Expert, Augustus Caesar. Psychologist, William James. Sound Designer, Adobe's Creative Suite. Spanish Consultant, Cameron J.K. Brandy. French Consultant, Leah, the Do-Your-Own Research Lady. Videographer, Eto Monkoshki. Audio Props, Les Paul. Inspiration, many podcasts and other sources and of course Napoleon Hill.
We also have websites, and you can subscribe to both podcasts. You can even send us a video, audio, or text message, but of course, you'll have to head to the show notes.
I
either on your phone or on the web to get the links and stuff. And all those clickable links are in the show notes.
And before we forget, the artificial intelligence or AI voices that you hear in our work are offered up by Google, Amazon Polly, and OpenAI like we say in the show notes. They don't sponsor us yet, but we love what they do, and we just love what AI can do when lovingly crafted.
Finally, you can find us on podmatch.com, matchmaker.fm, Podbooker, and Podcast Guests, where we consider guests and consider guesting on other people's shows.
And really finally, the music for our pods comes from Cute by Bensound and from Piano Background by Nick Simon Adams, as well as from AI MuseNet. The sound effect credits go to Jackson Academy Ashmore, Canusi G, Dr. Jekyll, Joe Payne, Everything Sounds, MK Play More Stories, ERH, Sand Emotions, Big Pickle 51, and Just Kidding. Yes, that's his or her name. All on freesound.org. Also, languages are the bomb.
Paul.